American family happily moves to a country in Southeast Asia, unaware that their new life will soon turn out to be a nightmare, and they will have to run for their lives. The story takes place in an unnamed country in Southeast Asia. In a luxurious government palace, the corrupt prime minister of the country, guarded by his personal guards, closes a water supply deal with a representative of an American company, Cardiff. A guard then escorts the American out of the palace to his car. Soon after the representative has left, the guard is alarmed to hear gunshots inside the palace. He rushes to the prime minister's rescue, only to find out that he was assassinated. Looking at the rebels sitting near the prime minister's dead body, the guard initially wanted to fight them, but he realized that it's pointless and took his own life out of shame. 17 hours prior to these events, Jack Dwyer, an engineer employed by Cardiff, an American company that made a deal with the prime minister, takes a flight with his family to the Asian country, as he was assigned to do a job there. His wife Annie and their young daughters, Lucy and Bees, seem to be enthusiastic about their new adventure. During the flight, they get acquainted with an adventurous British man named Hammond, who also travels to this country for a vacation. At the airport, Jack and his family are crowded by a group of local men, offering them a drive in their taxis. Having traveled to this country many times, Hammond explains to Jack that these men are professional scam artists who specifically look for naive foreigners to rob them. Instead, Hammond offers to give them a ride in his car. His local friend arrives, and the two happily reunite. The friend's name is Samir, but he is jokingly referred to as Kenny Rogers because he is a big fan of the American singer and drives a cab named after him.
Do you like Kenny Rogers?
In the cab, Samir makes them listen to Kenny Rogers' songs, while Jack asks him to keep an eye on the road. While riding the cab, the family observes the local people in traffic. Jack notices that armed soldiers are running somewhere through the streets. They arrive at the hotel and settle in their hotel suite, finding out that it lacks basic conveniences. Jack's daughters are quite handful, but he loves them very much. TV is not working, so Jack goes downstairs to ask the hotel employees to fix it. Apparently, it's not just his TV set. Television and internet are down all over the country. Jack goes to the bar and observes drunken Hammond as he comically sings in karaoke. The two later have a drink and reminisce about their lives. Hammond continues drinking heavily. During the night, Jack is awakened by the sounds of explosions going off somewhere far away. He looks through the window, but there is nothing to be seen, so he disregards the ominous sounds as he is soon distracted by his wife crying in the bathroom. Despite her supportive attitude earlier, Annie is unhappy with the prospect of living in this country. Unaware that she had a problem with them moving here, Jack tries to comfort her, but then goes to sleep. In the morning, Jack asks the hotel employee where he can get a newspaper. He gives him a map and directions, so Jack leaves the hotel, looking at a huge image of the Prime Minister on the wall of the building. Jack slowly walks through the streets, observing the locals going on with their daily lives in a market. They cautiously stare at the white foreigner as he continues going through the market. Eventually, Jack arrives at the store that sells newspapers and talks to the owner in English.
You have any American newspapers?
The owner doesn't seem to understand a word of what Jack is trying to say, and just awkwardly stares at him for some time. Being perceptive, he figures out that Jack wants a newspaper in English and sells him one, but it's 3 days old. Reading the newspaper, Jack is soon alerted by the vibration. He turns around and sees riot police on one side, and the angry mob of rebels on the other. As they approach each other, store owners quickly close their shops, leaving Jack in the middle of an upcoming fight. The rebels start throwing rocks and Molotov cocktails at the riot police, and the violent struggle ensues. The policemen open fire at the protesters, but are soon forced to fight them with their clubs and shields. The angry rioters viciously beat up the fallen cops, taking their lives. Jack manages to sneak behind the policemen and helps a local woman and her child. He and the other civilians quickly run away from the violent ordeal through the market. By the way, guys, even though the name of the country was never mentioned in the movie, these scenes were filmed in Thailand. What's interesting, though, the shields of the riot police had Cambodian Khmer lettering, and the military uniforms also resembled the Cambodian military, which is why the movie was banned in Cambodia. While Jack runs, he hears sirens in the city going off, informing citizens that martial law has been declared. Navigating through the narrow alleyways, Jack makes his way to the hotel. Outside the hotel, he notices a large crowd of rebels that brings out an American man, forcing him on his knees. Despite the man's assurances that he has no quarrel with their rebellion, they execute him in cold blood. The crowd cheers as terrified Jack tries to run away from them, but one rioter spots him and the chase ensues. Jack quickly climbs a fire escape ladder, but the rebels are right behind him, so he pushes down the ladder along with the violent rioters. As they continue throwing rocks at him, Jack breaks the window and goes inside the hotel. Hotel employees try to block the rioters from entering the hotel, but they break through the barricades and start shooting everybody inside. Jack takes the elevator and goes back to his room. Shaken up by the experience, he tells Annie about what's happening downstairs. He is terrified to find out that his daughter, Lucy, is downstairs in the swimming pool and rushes to get her. On the stairs, Jack encounters the rebels breaking the door of one of the floors and quickly leaves, taking a fire escape exit instead. Downstairs, he takes a plan of the floor to go around the rebels that continue shooting everyone in the hotel. Meanwhile, Annie and Bees listen in terror to the screams of foreigners that are being slaughtered by the rioters in the nearby rooms. They start breaking the door, and Annie tries to block it, telling her daughter to hide. But they got distracted by something and left. To be sure that they won't go inside, Annie blocked the door with a heavy chair. Jack reaches the pool and calls Lucy to get out of the water, while the rebels butcher people right in front of him in the building. Jack quickly blocks the door with a lifebuoy, grabs Lucy, and runs away as rebels start breaking the windows. He carries Lucy on the stairs, followed by the assailants. A masked rioter ambushes them on one of the floors. Suddenly, Hammond helps the two, advising them to get to the roof while he engages the assailants on the stairs. Jack reaches his room and reunites with Annie and Bees. The family then heads to the roof. Bees lost her bear, so Jack comically goes back to retrieve it, only to almost get shot by the rebels. They run through the halls, making their way to the roof, where other remaining foreigners let them in and block the door behind them. On the roof, Jack and Annie talk to the other survivors. The angry mob downstairs is shouting, "Blood for water," referring to the dirty deal the corrupt prime minister made with an American company, Cardiff, that was going to take over the water supply in the country. The survivors on the roof rejoice when they hear the sound of a helicopter approaching, assuming it's their rescue, only to find out a second later that it's the rebels who open fire at the crowd. Jack and his family take cover. Rebels in the helicopter circle around the roof, continuing shooting the survivors. However, the pilot makes a mistake, so the helicopter becomes entangled in electrical wires and crashes in an explosion, almost taking Jack and his family along with it. They rush to the other side of the roof while the rebels finally break down the blocked door. Jack wants them to jump onto the roof of a neighboring building. Annie is hesitant, but Jack persuades her that they have no other choice, so she goes first. While rebels approach them, she accelerates and jumps onto the roof, receiving minor damage. Jack then distracts Bees with small talk and comically throws her to Annie, who manages to catch the little girl. Lucy is scared and panics at the last moment, almost causing both of them to fall to their demise. While rebels continue looking for them, Jack tries to calm his daughter, but she is too afraid to let him throw her.
I'm scared.
Out of options, Jack quickly puts his belt around her arms and throws her against her will. After Lucy is safe, Jack jumps to the other side and they rush to take cover from the rebels who spotted them. One of the rebels symbolically shows Jack his face on the Cardiff banner that was placed inside the hotel earlier, letting him know he won't make out of this country alive. Jack climbs down to the balcony on the floor below, and then helps down his daughters and wife. Unaware that it's a government office building, the family are terrified to find out that rebels brought a tank to shoot at it. They quickly run inside to take cover from the upcoming explosion. The rebel tank continues firing at the building, causing many casualties, while Jack and his family hide in the rubble and observe the rebels coming inside and slaughtering the office workers that survived the blasts. Convinced that Jack died in the explosions earlier and is buried somewhere under the rubble, the assailants give up the search and leave the building. Discussing their situation, Jack and Annie decide that their best option is to try reaching the American embassy. While Annie gets a map of the city, Jack gets some clothes from the dead office workers to disguise themselves as locals. But not all rebels are gone. One of them stayed behind and spotted Jack. He yells for help, so Jack reluctantly puts him down to the ground and beats him to death while shocked Annie observed the violent ordeal. Disguised as a rioter, Jack steals a moped. His family also put on disguises to blend into the environment. They drive through the empty streets of the city devastated by the rebellion and check the map for directions to the embassy. Surrounded by angry rioters on all sides, Jack reluctantly drives towards them, slowly making his way past them as they continue chanting in rage. The rioters don't pay any attention to what appears to be a local man with his family. However, pushed by the crowd, Jack falls down. When he gets up, one man in the crowd notices his distinctive blue eyes and white skin underneath his disguise. Fortunately for Jack and his family, he chose to stay silent and let them go in peace. They arrive at the embassy that is surrounded by the defensive perimeter made of tires, barbed wire, and wooden spikes. Jack climbs onto the wall to see what's going on inside. To his dismay, he discovers that the embassy has been completely overrun and taken over by the rebels. Jack quickly runs away from the rebels that got distracted by the explosion going off inside the embassy. Pursued by the rebels through the streets, Jack and his family hide in a Buddhist shrine garden nearby. An old man tries to chase them away, but reluctantly lets them stay, feeling sorry for the kids. The rebels eventually catch up with them and harass an old man outside the shrine for information. While they go inside, Jack notices that one of the rebels left his rifle unattended and runs behind the rebels to grab it. But the man hears Jack coming and takes his gun. Seeing this, Annie decides to come out of hiding to distract the rebels from Jack. Using the opportunity, Jack assaults the rebel near him and takes his rifle. However, the gun wasn't loaded, so Jack engages the rebels in hand-to-hand combat, but they quickly overpower him. The leader of the rebels, Sam Nang, stops his men from executing Jack. Jack tries to fight back, but despite his best efforts, they restrain him and mockingly make him watch as they're about to violate Annie. Hammond and Kenny arrive, pretending to be a rioter and his prisoner. Hammond pretends to negotiate with the rebels.
I didn't get guns! I didn't get guns!
Suddenly, he takes out his gun, after which he and Kenny gun down most of the rebels, but Sam Nang escapes. After the shootout, Hammond and Kenny escort the family to a nearby safe house. It's a questionable establishment, and rebels are unlikely to look for foreigners in there. They go to the roof and have something to eat. Hammond has a plan. A river nearby crosses the Vietnamese border a few miles from here, so they should be safe once they sail downstream and cross the border. He reluctantly reveals to Jack that he is a spy working for the British government.
I'm the one who put your family in harm's way.
He feels guilty because all of this is the result of Western governments exploiting poor countries in the region, convincing them to make expensive infrastructure deals with Western companies that they couldn't afford, putting them in debt and effectively owning their entire countries as the result. So, in a way, rebels were right to protect their children from the economic devastation that would follow the water deal. In the night, Jack wakes up and observes Hammond and Kenny approaching the wall, alerted about something. The rebels found them. They open fire from a nearby guard tower, forcing Jack and his family to flee to the staircase, while Hammond and Kenny cover them. They evacuated through the staircase, but in a chaotic shootout, Hammond was wounded and Kenny was killed. Downstairs, wounded Hammond followed Jack and his family as they ran away from rebel gunfire. Weakened by his wound, he falls down. Jack tries to help him, but Hammond orders him to save his family and leave him behind. The rebel truck is approaching, so Jack reluctantly complies. Realizing he's not going to make it, Hammond stands up and shoots the truck's driver, sacrificing his life in the process. The truck crashes seconds afterwards, giving Jack and his family a chance to flee. During their escape, it starts raining heavily. They reach the riverbank. Annie and the children hide under one of the houses, while Jack goes out to find them a boat. He finds one, but an old man who owns it refuses to part with it, so Jack reluctantly gives the man his golden watch and his brand new shoes to pay for the boat. Suddenly, a group of rebels appear, so Jack hides under the boat. Sam Nang is among them. He asks the old man about Jack, but he claims he didn't see anybody. They don't believe him and conduct a search. Sam Nang is about to look under the boat, so Jack comes out and strikes him. He continues beating him up on the ground, but is soon overpowered by Sam Nang's henchmen. They prepare to execute Jack, but get distracted by Lucy, who came out of hiding and started screaming, so they only wound Jack in the hand. Sam Nang captures Lucy. He first threatens her life, as helpless Jack watches him, but then mockingly puts a gun in her hand and orders her to shoot her father, or he will shoot her with another pistol. Jack tells her to do it, hoping she will be spared then. In panic, Lucy fires the gun at the ground, making the rebels laugh at the scared child. Despite the pressure, Lucy refuses to shoot. Suddenly, Annie arrives and attacks Sam Nang. Jack quickly takes the gun and shoots his henchman, while enraged Annie continues beating Sam Nang to death. After the violent ordeal, Jack comforts Lucy. The reunited family sits in the boat. They paddle down the river towards the Vietnamese border. Wounded Jack struggles with paddling, but does it anyway. Suddenly, a searchlight appears behind them. The Vietnamese border is in sight, so they continue paddling, disregarding the rebels on the truck that go after them. At the border, Vietnamese troops aim their guns at the boat. They warn Jack and his family that they don't have permission to cross the border. Jack shouts to them that they're seeking asylum, begging them not to shoot. Vietnamese troops reluctantly let the boat cross the border. Meanwhile, the rebels got off the truck and are about to open fire at Jack and his family. Vietnamese troops aim their guns at them and order them to leave immediately as the boat is now on their side of the border. So if they fire at it, they will consider it an act of war. Unwilling to start an incident, the rebels reluctantly comply. Jack and his family rejoice, unable to believe that they somehow managed to survive the horrific ordeal. Vietnamese troops on boats approach the family and help them out of the water. Sometime later, Jack recovers in a Vietnamese hospital, telling his family a funny story about how Lucy was born. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.